What if one single meal could start reversing decades of arterial buildup without expensive medications, without tasteless diet food, and without overhauling your entire life? Scientists have now identified a specific combination of foods that works like a natural scrub brush for your arteries, and it's especially powerful for people over 60. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that meal looks like, why it works, and how you can make it tonight. But here's the part most people get wrong. It's not about eating less, it's about eating the right things in the right combination. Stick around because what you're about to learn could seriously change your heart health. And make sure you watch to the end, because beyond the food, I'm going to share a specific type of exercise that clinical trials show can outperform statin medication for plaque reduction, plus a supplement with real randomized trial data behind it. Now, before I reveal every ingredient, let me take 30 seconds to explain why this combination works so well. For people over 60, understanding this will make everything else click. Most people assume arterial plaque is just a cholesterol problem, but the real process is more layered than that. Plaque develops through a chain reaction. First, the inner lining of your arteries, called the endothelium, gets damaged. This can happen from chronic high blood pressure, inflammation, or blood sugar spikes. Once that lining is compromised, LDL particles carrying a protein called ApoB slip into the artery wall. Your immune system detects them, sends in white blood cells to clean things up, and ends up making everything worse. Inflammation grows, oxidative stress feeds the cycle, and the plaque keeps building. So how do you actually interrupt that chain reaction? Every food in this meal targets one of those specific steps: lowering ApoB, reducing inflammation, protecting the endothelium, or calming that immune overreaction. That's why this combination works when random healthy eating often doesn't. The first ingredient is probably already in your kitchen. Most people walk past it every day without realizing it may be protecting their arteries. Let's start with lycopene. It's a carotenoid found in red and pink colored produce: tomatoes, watermelon, guava, papaya, and pink grapefruit. Lycopene is one of the most potent natural antioxidants we know of, and oxidative stress is a primary accelerator of plaque formation. What lycopene does is neutralize the harmful reactive oxygen species that damage arterial walls and trigger inflammation. A long-term observational study out of Finland found a link between lycopene-rich foods like tomatoes and a measurable reduction in carotid artery plaque. For people over 60 who are already at higher cardiovascular risk, adding these foods regularly is one of the simplest upgrades you can make to your routine. Next are phytosterols. These are plant compounds found in flax seeds, sesame seeds, legumes, whole grains, and many vegetables like broccoli and carrots. You'll also find them in avocados and leafy greens. Here's the fascinating thing: their molecular structure is almost identical to cholesterol. When you eat them, they compete with cholesterol for absorption in your gut, which means your body absorbs less of it. The more powerful effect happens next. Your liver senses the drop in absorbed cholesterol and responds by pulling more LDL particles out of your bloodstream to compensate. The result is a measurable decline in circulating ApoB, the protein directly linked to plaque formation. Multiple meta-analyses have confirmed that regular phytosterol intake can reduce LDL cholesterol by around 14 milligrams per deciliter. For senior nutrition, that's a significant and meaningful shift. But the next group of compounds might be even more interesting, because they don't just target your arteries. Okay, now let's talk about flavonoids. These are natural compounds found in berries, apples, oranges, onions, leafy greens, and dark chocolate. For people over 60 concerned about both heart health, flavonoids are especially worth paying attention to. When LDL particles get trapped inside artery walls, they get oxidized, which makes the lining sticky. White blood cells rush in, inflammation builds, and the plaque grows. Flavonoids interrupt that entire process by reducing the stickiness of artery walls so fewer harmful cells can attach and cause damage. A specific group called catechins, found in green and black tea, is particularly powerful. A meta-analysis reviewing 9 major prospective studies found that drinking 3 or more cups of tea daily was linked to a 21% lower risk of stroke compared to people who drank less than 1 cup. Stroke prevention through diet is real, and tea is one of the easiest places to start. The next ingredient is extra virgin olive oil. This one shows up consistently across the most credible cardiovascular research. and high intake has been associated with a meaningful reduction in major cardiac events, including heart attacks. Olive oil is loaded with polyphenols and monounsaturated fats that work together to reduce inflammation and repair the endothelium. It may also help regulate blood sugar and improve insulin sensitivity, which matters for senior health because metabolic dysfunction accelerates plaque formation. It targets multiple pathways at once, which is exactly what we want. Rounding out this meal is fatty fish: salmon, mackerel, sardines. These are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, which are critical for both cardiovascular and brain health. The multi-ethnic study of atherosclerosis found that higher blood levels of DHA were linked to a 12% lower risk of coronary plaque progression. Eating fatty fish 1 to 3 times a week has also been associated with a reduced risk of heart attacks and strokes. For people over 60, omega-3s are especially valuable because they reduce chronic low-grade inflammation, increase nitric oxide production to help lower high blood pressure, protect arterial walls, and help stabilize existing plaques, so they're less likely to rupture and cause sudden cardiac events. Individually, each of these foods is helpful, but when you combine them in one specific way, the effect becomes far more powerful. So what does this meal actually look like on a plate? Think grilled salmon, drizzled with extra virgin olive oil, served alongside a tomato and avocado salad tossed with flax seeds, and a side of steamed broccoli or edamame. Pair it with a cup of green tea. Every item on that plate is pulling in the same direction to help unclog your arteries. And just as important as eating the right foods is avoiding the worst ones. Processed carbs, added sugar, flavored yogurts, granola bars, and fruit juices are among the biggest culprits for clogged arteries. Flavored yogurts in particular are frequently marketed as healthy, but they're loaded with added sugar. A much better choice is plain, full-fat yogurt where you control what goes in. Most people already know that breakfast cereals are essentially dessert in a box, but the alternatives aren't always better. Many granola bars and breakfast bars carry just as much sugar with slightly cleaner packaging. And fruit juice deserves its own warning. Even varieties with no added sugar still deliver a highly concentrated dose of fructose without the protective fiber you'd get from eating the actual fruit. Senior nutrition is full of these traps, so always check the ingredient labels before assuming something is heart healthy. Now for the bonus section. If you want to accelerate plaque reversal beyond diet, one specific exercise method has direct clinical evidence behind it. A randomized controlled trial published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found that just 6 months of supervised high-intensity interval training produced a measurable reduction in plaque volume. Remarkably, the regression was slightly greater than what was observed with statin therapy over the same time period. One supplement worth highlighting for people over 60 is aged garlic extract. Clinical trials have shown it can stabilize vulnerable plaques and slow the progression of coronary artery calcification while also supporting healthy blood pressure. Finally, regular sauna use has shown indirect associations with improved endothelial function, better high blood pressure management, and lower all-cause mortality. The evidence isn't as direct as diet and exercise, but it's compelling enough to consider if you have access. Arterial plaque isn't something you simply have to accept just because you're getting older. The right foods, consistent movement, and a few targeted additions can make a real and lasting difference for your heart health and your quality of life well into your senior years. For more science-backed tips to improve your heart and overall health, click subscribe and tap the bell. And don't forget to like this video if you found these strategies helpful. See you in the next one.